What is up, guys? Rick Cacus here, and today we are going to be taking one last look at the content coming with the Dawning live event and discussing its impact on Destiny. Now guys, if you enjoy this video, please remember to support it by liking, commenting, and especially sharing. Your support is how I'm able to continue making content, and it really means a lot to me. Now guys, the Dawning. The thing I want to say right off the bat, which is a little bit surprising, is that there seems to be a lot less hype for the Dawning than I expected. And maybe this isn't actually that surprising, because when you think about it, it does definitely make sense. The Destiny community, they're woke this time. They're wising up to the Bungie content offerings. We've had in the past, with the Rise of Iron, we had a pretty lackluster big expansion. I definitely wouldn't say that the Rise of Iron was below average. I think it still added quite a few good things. But I think it's also very fair to say that in a lot of people's minds, it didn't live up to what they were expecting or hoping for. And then right after that, the first live event to kick off kind of the new era after the Rise of Iron was the Festival of the Cost. No, sorry, I'm remembering that wrong. The Festival of the Lost Wallet. No, what is it? Festival of Microtransactions? Festival of the Lost 2016. Wow, that was quite the live event. It was frankly panned by pretty much everyone. It was a really bad live event. I don't know what Bungie were thinking. It was just microtransactions put into the game with barely any content to back it up. Basically no content to back it up. Now thankfully, the Dawning, and I can say this just based on what we've seen, like what we know is coming with the Dawning will not be anywhere near as bad as the Festival of the Lost. Like, it's adding sparrow racing, it's adding, the new strike scoring system, all of that stuff. There's no way it's going to be to the same degree of bullshittery as the Festival of the Lost. So that's definitely good. But still, people are very pessimistic. People are still very concerned about what is actually coming with the Dawning. Now, I actually did make a video a while back called the No Hype Analysis of the Dawning, where I really just broke down all of the content and really just assessed with no frills what that would mean for Destiny. But since that point, new information has come out, and actually, very importantly as well, questions still have remained unanswered and are now likely looking like that answer is a no. And that's why we're talking about it in today's video. That's why I'm making today's video. It's kind of like the last chance to properly ask the question, will the Dawning suck, or will it be a great addition to Destiny? Well, firstly, let's talk about Sparrow Racing. It is definitely the poster child addition to this live event, and it looks a lot better than it did in 2015. Let me tell you that. It has 4 maps instead of 2. The 2 old maps are returning, and 2 new maps. There's going to be new armor, new sparrows, and one of the best parts is that the armor is actually able to infuse. So if you want to, you can use it for pretty much any activity, whereas last time only the helmets were able to actually infuse up to whatever the current light level was. So this is all good news. And once Sparrow Racing actually leaves Destiny, once the Dawning is done, it will still be available to play in private matches, which is definitely better than just disappearing altogether. So again, those are all good things. Sparrow Racing does look a lot better than it did in 2015. However, my main concern about Sparrow Racing is that good enough? Because the thing about Sparrow Racing, and I brought this up, very casually in the last video, but I think it really needs to be emphasized more, is that Sparrow Racing is very, very self-contained. Sparrow Racing gear only affects Sparrow Racing. You're earning new sparrows that don't really have any huge gameplay effect whatsoever outside of maybe slight gameplay variations inside the actual Sparrow Racing event. So once the Dawning goes away, Sparrow Racing is very likely to go away with it. It's going to be really, really hard to actually consistently find a bunch of your friends willing to get together for massive sparrow racing events in private matches. Like, I just don't see that that's a realistic way to continue doing sparrow racing for the people who actually want to continue doing it. Yes, putting it in, private matches is definitely better than deleting it altogether, but it's really going to be underplayed once it's just locked to private matches. I don't know why Bungie isn't considering bringing it back every month, 2 month, or whatever other time frame, somewhat similar to the Iron Banner. The Iron Banner is special because it appears once a month and everyone kind of gets hyped for it and goes for whatever gear is on offer. But Sparrow Racing, once it disappears and is just segmented into private matches, you're just not going to have that same experience. And again, it's not going to come back. The next thing that's going to come out is Destiny 2. So Sparrow Racing is going to come and go. And because all of the armor you earn and all of the sparrows are very, very centered around just that event, they're just going to rot in your vault. And that is very, very concerning. In fact, that is the main concern of mine for the Dawning. If I can impress anything onto you guys in this video, it is this concern. The Dawning live event seems like it is very likely to, excuse the expression, but bust its load early, and then everyone's going to be left wondering what to do. Look at the content being offered in the Dawning. We have very limited number of weapons. This was one of my main concerns that I brought up in the No Hype analysis. It's never been answered since, and I really can't believe that of all the news sources, of all the gaming journalists that got to interview Bungie, not one of them asked, hey, are there going to be new legendary weapons as well? Because that has not been answered properly, and it is very much looking like a no. It does not look like there will be any new legendary weapons or remade legendary weapons coming to Destiny with the Dawning. I really hope I'm wrong, but this is almost certainly the case. And I think it's very unfair to compare the Dawning to the Rise of Iron. Obviously, the Rise of Iron was $30, the Dawning is free. But when we even compare the Dawning to the April update, you can see one of the best parts about the April update was that it added so many new things to go for. It added so much new gear. It added new gear via the Prison of Elders. You had new Queen's weapons. You had new weapons given out by Varix for leveling the House of Judgment faction up. You had the old weapons like the LDR and the Longbow Synthesis updated into the current light level. And that was actually one of the best parts. Because of doing that very seemingly simple thing, people were brought back and motivated to play Destiny for months and months after the April update came and basically went. Like, well after the April update actually hit Destiny, tons of people, I'm sure a lot of you guys, were still grinding for those God Roll LDRs and God Roll longbows. But if none of that is being added in the Dawning, if the only weapons being added are the 2 new Thunderlords and the Icebreaker, once people acquire those weapons, the will to play is going to drop phenomenally. Like, you're not really going to be still going after the LDR. Most people have one already. And, I'm being too specific, but just your motivation to go for the same weapons you've been going for the past few months is just not going to be there for so many people. And that is my biggest concern. That again, the Dawning busts its load early, Sparrow Racing is fun, we all have some fun for a few weeks, but once it goes away, things could get rough for Destiny. The Dawning in and of itself, again, is adding some good things. Like Sparrow Racing, good on you, definitely looks better. The strike scoring system and the new bounty system, that is actually really interesting, and I'm very much looking forward to that. But if there's no weapons to earn behind it, if there's no desirable loot that you actually want to earn from this strike scoring system, obviously aside from the Icebreaker, which is tied to these bounties, but again, once you actually get the Icebreaker and have no other desirable loot to go for, there is very little motivation remaining. So, will the Dawning suck? Well, absolutely not. Seriously, the Dawning is going to be great. It's going to bring a ton of people back into the game. It's going to give people stuff to do, going for the Icebreaker, going for the Void and Solar Thunderlords, trying out the new strike scoring system and the new remade strikes. Thank goodness they're finally updating the Nexus. And it'll be fun to have a festive spin on things and be going for some of that new really cool looking armor and some new fun items as well. I'm sure there's going to be a ghost wearing a Santa hat or something like that. And yes, it may be microtransactionable, but hopefully with all of the gifts they seem to be giving us, we're getting 1 gift per day in the tower. That's going to counteract that a little bit. I don't think that was the answer you guys are expecting, right? I've been kind of doom and gloom for the most of this video, and now I just said the Dawning is going to be great. And it is. The Dawning is not going to suck. It's going to be very fun. Until it leaves. Until the Dawning leaves. And my biggest concern, and looking at the content of the Dawning and looking at what's not there, it seems like Bungie has a distinctive lack of planning ahead when it comes to this live event. Things have not been great over the last month or so for the Destiny community. A lot of people are just begging for more content. So many people are saying that they're bored of this game, that Destiny's trash now, blah blah blah. We hear that all the time. It's very cyclical. But going on into this game's 3rd year, you'd think that Bungie would learn. You'd think they'd learn about what keeps people interested, what keeps people engaged. And I see a distinct lack of doing that coming with the Dawning. So again, the Dawning is going to be very fun, but my concern is mainly that when the Dawning leaves, things will go very quickly back to the way they are now, where everyone is asking for that next hit of content. And that's going to put the pressure back on Bungie to put more resources off of Destiny 2 and make yet another live event to hopefully satisfy us Destiny players. But as we're wrapping up this video, I do want to quickly say that although the concerns and questions I've brought up in this video, I of course think are extremely legitimate and I'd love to hear Bungie answer them directly, I do want to also say that, you know, Destiny is getting old. And I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean that actually in a positive way. This game has kept me interested, it's kept me engaged for going into its 3rd year. That's insane. A lot of games are not able to do that. And so I think it is important to say and understand that Destiny's life cycle is coming to an end just naturally. And a lot of the problems we can't really expect fixes to until Destiny 2 completely reworks the system, which I'm really hoping it does. And so taking a break from Destiny when the content runs dry is not a bad thing to do. Heck, I plan on diving headfirst into Mass Effect Andromeda. I absolutely love the Mass Effect franchise. Again, there's nothing wrong with doing that, enjoying other games or other activities when the content is dry and then just coming back to Destiny when things are good. Yes, of course, we should still hold Bungie to a very high standard. There's really no reason why they can't go back and remake some of the Year 1 weapons that haven't been remade and are still coded in the game. Just update them for infusion. But in fairness to Bungie, and the reason I'm saying this at the tail end of the video is that there's only so much they can do before everything is reset. We get an entirely new experience with Destiny 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it interesting. If you did, again, please remember to help me out by liking, commenting, and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.